Next up, we have Gunnar Nelson versus Takashi Sato. Nelson coming in as a negative 450 favorite versus Sato as a plus 350 underdog. How'd you break down this fight, Fern?
This is going to be a striker versus grappler fight. Gunnar Nelson, for those of you guys who don't know, I actually used to train in Oregon. I have a coworker who used to go to Redmond High School, and Gunnar Nelson used to come through and train in Oregon with wrestling programs and wrestling teams. So there is a local connection, I guess, more or less. Gunnar Nelson trains with Team SBG Ireland, Conor McGregor. You see it in his last fight against Gilbert Burns, that Conor McGregor style karate pounce that he does with the jab out in front and like quick to go, like kind of point fighting style. And his last fight was against Gilbert Burns, which interestingly enough is trained by Henry Hooft. And this opponent, Sato, is also trained by Henry Hooft. So you might think that, Sato is going to have an advantage having seen his teammate having fought Gunnar. Gunnar has a great grappling pedigree. You see his takedowns, his control on the ground. I would think, to me, back in the day, like I'd heard of Gunnar Nelson, and he has the reputation that I think Ryan Hall has now, where he was just expected to control people on the ground, dominate, fought a lot of grappling heavy fighters back in the day. And, although he's got losses to Burns and Edwards recent by decision, he's got an exciting style. When you see him grappling, he's very solid. Like he plants his knees, puts his elbows on the like in their stomach, hands on their shoulders, hands on their elbows, hands on their bicep. Just very controlling, heavy pressure. I would say he's got a wrestling style grappling, technique where wrestlers are very good at putting all their weight onto whatever points they're putting on their opponent. That's how he is with his hands, his knees, his elbows, his shoulders. Very specific on where he puts his hands on his opponent. Quick scrambles in his fights against Gilbert Burns. I thought it was a very close fight. I wouldn't have been surprised if he won or lost. Of course, he ended up losing to Gilbert Burns, but definitely that showed the kind of level of technique and even striking that he has when most people see him as a grappler. Sato is Henry Hoof trained. If you see his any of his fights, they focus heavily on his power, on and that just is natural given that he's trained by a kickboxing coach. His losses have been via submission, so this is where you're gonna see like, okay, I think Gunnar's game plan is going to be to come at him, take him down, and work on it that way. Because Sato is a very strong puncher. He's got a crazy quick KO in one of his last fights. Quick steps, karate style. So it'll be interesting if they both come at each other karate style, just like hopping towards the middle of the ring, like a bunch of toddlers learning karate. Because that's like kind of how it looks. It's just funny how they bounce. Heavy hands, he's efficient. He doesn't swing those extra punches. He doesn't need to. He just waits for that one punch, uncorks it, and usually lands it. One of the things that I saw him do as well is whenever he gets kicked, he steps in with a right jab. He's a southpaw fighter, and with that right jab, he's able to catch people off guard, off balance, and then follow up and swarm them. Very exciting grappler versus striker fight. I would pick Gunnar Nelson to take this because I want to see Gunnar kind of ascend again. He's fought some top competition and just hasn't been able to like kind of go over that hump. He's definitely not a gateway fighter or a gatekeeper, but this is definitely young versus old guard coming of age fight. I think. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and Gunnar Nelson coming off of 2 losses, which looks pretty bad, but they're decision losses against Gilbert Burns and Leon Edwards. So, if you're going to lose to anyone, losing to the top guys in the division, like Leon Edwards and Gilbert Burns, you don't look too bad, especially when you have a competitive fight with them that goes the distance. So, that being said, I'm looking at Sato's record, and kind of as you mentioned, his last 3 losses are through submission losses. Gunnar Nelson, if you look at his record, the number of wins by submission that he has is crazy. So I think this matchup is definitely favoring Gunnar Nelson, which is why the odds are skewed the way they are. We've seen that Sato is definitely susceptible to being submitted, and that seems to be Gunnar Nelson's specialty. So I expect Gunnar Nelson to take this one for sure.
Coast Hot Boy.